There are so many videos about travel essentials, and let's be honest, they all tell you the same things. But today, this is different. Hey, Johannes from GearUpYourLife here, and while my last video was also all about the only essentials I bring on every trip, this one is the complete opposite, because these are the accessories I don't need, but still always choose to bring anyway. These are the small things that make traveling easier, more comfortable, and sometimes just way more fun. And to start this off, I think this might be one of the most underrated travel accessories out there. So let's start with the first accessory, and that's the hero clip from GearAid. And this is something you've probably seen on this channel before, or even in other essentials type videos from different channels. And I don't think you need to carry this all the time, but it's a gadget that just makes your life easier when you have it with you. It basically just gives you a hook and of course a carabiner anywhere. I use it in cafes to hang my bag under the table, in bathrooms where there's no clean place to put your stuff, or at the airport when you just don't want your bag on the floor, and it really adds up over time, especially because the build quality is also solid. It's made from aluminum and feels durable, and the hook has a rubber grip so your bag stays in place, and it can handle a surprising amount of weight, so even a fully packed bag works without any issues. Price wise, it's usually around $20 to $25 depending on where you get it, and for how often I use it, it just makes sense to have. The second accessory you should really think about owning, in my opinion, is a foldable tote bag, and depending on how you travel, this could honestly even be an essential. My personal favorite, as many of you already know, is the nano bag. It folds down incredibly small, basically to the size of your palm, so you can just keep it in your pocket or somewhere in your bag, or even clip to your bag at all times. But once you open it up, it's actually super strong. You can pack it completely full with groceries, daily stuff, or even heavier items, and it just handles it without any problems. Another really good option is the foldable tote from Origami. It's usually a bit more expensive, around $5 more, and it doesn't pack down quite as small, but it feels a bit more like a real bag in terms of structure. So both are great, it just depends on what you prefer. And the reason I like having one of these is simple. Groceries, random shopping, beach stuff, or even as a backup day pack if you need more space. It's just super versatile, and for something that costs around $10 to $15, it's one of the easiest upgrades you can make. And for everyone who's seen the nano bag here for the 20th time already, don't worry, the next ones are going to be a bit more different. So my third accessory is the Lifestraw, one of the most well-known products out there in this category, and if I'm not mistaken, also one of the highest rated ones. And what it does is actually pretty simple, but can be extremely useful when you need it, because it basically lets you drink clean water from almost any source. So whether that's a river, a lake, or questionable tap water, you just use it like a straw and drink through it. Now, I don't think this is something everyone needs, but for a few types of travelers, it can make a lot of sense. First, if you're into hiking or spend time in nature, this can be a real game changer. Second, if you travel to regions like Southeast Asia, Africa, or South America, and just want that extra layer of safety when it comes to water. And third, if you're somewhere in between, which is probably where I'd put myself. Price-wise, it's around $20, and they claim it lasts for a very long time. I obviously haven't tested that fully yet, but I've been using it for a few months now, and so far, it's worked exactly as expected. So next on the list, we go in a completely different direction, a whole coffee setup. And the main part of that is the standard AeroPress. Now this is probably not an essential for most people, but it's something I personally really like bringing, because it just makes things super simple. You can make good coffee pretty much anywhere. It's easy to clean, easy to pack, and it comes with everything you need for around $25 to $30. It's also a fair price in my opinion. And one thing I'd definitely recommend is getting a metal filter, so you don't have to carry paper filters with you. And lately, I've been pairing it with the Sea to Summit coffee mug. It folds down really small, takes up almost no space, and is just easy to use on the go. And especially in the combination with something like the AeroPress, it just makes sense. It is a bit more expensive at around $20 to $25, but for this kind of setup, it works really well. Next up is something seriously small, but of course surprisingly useful, the GearUpYourLife portable fan. And if you've ever been in a hot city, on a packed bus, or in a hotel room with weak AC, you know how fast heat can ruin your mood. That's exactly why I picked this up, and I didn't expect to use it that much. But even now here in Burgas in Bulgaria, I've already used it multiple times again. Folds down really small, so you can just throw it into your sling or bag without thinking about it on hot days, for example. And once you open it, you get 3 different speed settings that actually make a noticeable difference. There's even a small built-in flashlight at the bottom. Not something you buy it for, but nice to have. And for something that costs around $15, it just works and makes hot days a lot more comfortable. So our next gadget is something that's not for everyone at first, and that's this vlogging selfie stick tripod from Craft Geek. And of course, I mainly use it for filming, as you can see in the video, because it works really well as a tripod for both camera and phone. And especially with the built-in remote, it's super easy to take photos or start recording without having to touch the setup. But what makes it really interesting is how versatile it actually is, because instead of just being a tripod, you can also use it as a selfie stick or just as a simple stand when you're traveling alone. And that's exactly how I use it most of the time. When I don't want to carry a full tripod around, I still want something that just works. And even if you're not creating content, I still think this can make sense, because you can use it to take your own photos while traveling, for group group pictures, or just anytime you don't want to ask someone else. And when it comes to the build quality, that's where I was actually a bit surprised, because usually the legs are the first weak point on cheaper options, but here they feel really stable and reliable. So that's something I didn't really expect at this price point. And speaking of that, it's around $50, so definitely not the cheapest option, but you do get solid quality and a 1-year warranty. And just as a quick note for transparency, this video isn't sponsored, but the brand did send this out to me. So as always, if you want to check it out, you'll find it and every other product linked in the description below. So next on the list is another simple accessory, and that's travel hangers. And at first I didn't really think much about them, but over time I started using them more and more, because when you're traveling, especially in Airbnbs or smaller hotels, you often just don't have enough hangers, or sometimes none at all. And that's exactly where these come in. They fold down really small, so you can easily keep a few of them in your bag without taking up space, but once you open them, they work just like normal hangers. So whether it's drying clothes, organizing outfits, or just keeping things off the floor, they make things a lot easier. And especially if you're washing clothes while traveling, having your own hangers just saves you a lot of hassle. Price-wise, they're also super affordable. You can usually get a full pack for around $10 to $12, so you basically have a whole set ready for any trip. And over time, this is definitely something I've come to appreciate a lot. So for our next accessories, we stay around the same theme, and this time it's actually a small combo. We have this Sea to Summit clothesline and also a simple sink stopper. And starting with the clothesline, as you can see, it's extremely small and lightweight, so it's really easy to just keep in your bag. But once you set it up, it gives you a super simple way to dry your clothes anywhere. So whether that's in a hotel room, Airbnb, or even outside, you suddenly have a place to hang your stuff. And that's especially useful if you're washing clothes while traveling. Then to stay in that same idea, we also have a sink stopper. And here, the brand honestly doesn't matter that much, but I'm using a set from Mr. Riga. You usually get multiple pieces, which is actually useful in case you lose one. And combined with the clothesline, you basically have everything you need. You can wash your clothes in the sink, hang them up right after, and you don't have to rely on anything that's already there. Price-wise, the clothesline is around $15, and the stoppers are also pretty affordable. So for a really small setup, this adds a lot of flexibility when traveling. And if you want to go deeper into this, I've made a full how to wash while traveling guide on my website. You'll find it linked in the description. Next up is a travel gadget I've mentioned before, the Elebase multi-USB-C adapter kit. And after my last video, I actually lost one of my USB-C cables, which is exactly the kind of problem this solves. Because let's be honest, most of us don't pack too few cables. We pack the wrong ones or too many, and then they just end up floating around in your bag, creating unnecessary chaos. So instead of carrying multiple cables, you just have one main cable and the adapters you need. Everything comes in this small round case, super compact, fits easily into any tech pouch. Inside, you get a 100-watt USB-C cable, plus adapters for USB-A, micro USB, and Lightning. So no matter what device you're dealing with, you're basically covered. Build quality is solid, and it even includes a SIM tool and storage for SIM cards. So instead of a mess of cables, you just have one clean system that handles everything. So next up is something really simple, but can save you a lot of stress, a digital luggage scale. And I think most people already know the situation. You pack your bag, everything feels fine, and then at the airport you suddenly realize it's overweight. And that's exactly what this fixes. You just attach it to your bag, lift it up, and instantly see the weight on the display. This one from Free2 goes up to 50 kilos, which is more than enough for any normal travel setup. It's also super small and lightweight, so you can just keep it in your bag without even noticing it. And especially on the way back, when your bag is usually heavier than before, this becomes really useful, because instead of guessing, you actually know if you're good or need to remove something. Price-wise, it's also very affordable, usually around $10 to $15. So for something this small, it can easily save you from extra fees at the airport. So next up is something a bit more different, and that's this foldable origami bowl. And what I like about this is how simple but useful it is. It comes in a 2-pack, one more transparent, one a bit darker, and both fold down completely flat. So they take up almost no space in your bag, but once you open them, you actually have a full bowl you can use anywhere. And I've used this in a lot of different situations. For example, when I'm traveling, I sometimes just pour a bit of olive oil into it, like here back in Croatia on a balcony, or just for simple meals, snacks, or even salads. And it's also great if you're buying fresh food at local markets, like in Thailand or similar places, where you don't always have something to eat from. At the same time, it also works for hiking or anything outdoors. The only small downside is that you do have to fold it properly so it holds its shape, but once you get used to it, it's actually pretty easy. Price-wise, it's around $15, and for how versatile it is, it's just a really nice addition to have. So now the last product on this list before we move into the 4 bonus gadgets is a small digital alarm clock, like this one from Braun. There are definitely other options out there. This is just the one I picked up back in Germany, and at around $30 to $35, it's not the cheapest. But the reason I like using something like this is pretty simple. First, it helps me keep a better routine while traveling, because instead of waking up and immediately grabbing my phone, checking messages or emails, I just wake up and that's it. And second, I've had situations where my phone alarm just didn't go off, which is honestly not something you want when you rely on it. So having a separate alarm just gives you that extra reliability. And it's also something you can use at home. So it's not just for travel, it's small, simple, does exactly what it's supposed to do, and that's really all you need here. But now, don't go anywhere just yet, because we still have 4 bonus gadgets coming up next. But real quick before we get into the bonus gadgets, if you want a more structured setup and not just random accessories like in this video, you might want to check out my newsletter. Inside, you'll find 75 plus travel essentials I've tested, 8 complete packing guides, and practical setups you can actually follow, together with a community of over 2,000 travelers already inside. You can join for free through the first link in the description. So now, let's get into the bonus gadgets. Our first bonus gadget is a simple laundry bag like this one from Wiseboy. It's nothing crazy, but really useful for keeping dirty clothes separate from the rest of your stuff. It folds down small, takes up almost no space, and once you use it, it just keeps your bag way more organized. Especially on longer trips, this makes a bigger difference than you'd expect. The next bonus gadget is a jump rope, and this is definitely more on the fun side, but still really useful, because it's one of the easiest ways to stay active while traveling without needing a gym. It's super small, lightweight, and you can use it pretty much anywhere, hotel room, outside, or even at the beach. So if you're trying to keep some kind of routine while traveling, this is a really simple way to do it. Another bonus gadget is something I wasn't fully convinced of at first, and that's this beach powder from Bobbly Bay. It's not an essential or anything like that, but it actually works really well to remove sand from your skin or feet. And especially for families or beach heavy trips, I can see this being super useful. It costs around $14, so a small upgrade that can make beach days a bit easier. And the last bonus gadget is a UV toothbrush sanitizer from Lifestraw. This one is definitely more on the premium side at around $30, but I've actually been using it more as a home gadget recently. It keeps your toothbrush clean automatically, and especially if you travel a lot or share bathrooms, it's just a nice extra level of hygiene to have. Alright, and with that, we're done. If you enjoyed this one, the video on the left is definitely for you. You'll find even more travel setups and gadgets there. And if you're not subscribed yet, you can do that right here on the right. Thanks a lot for watching all the way to the end. And as always, safe travels, guys.